today we have Robb with Long Island CW. So, hey, Robb, thank you for being here.
Hey, how's it going, Steve? Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Couple of the quick little housekeeping things to get out of the way. If y'all would hit that subscribe button down below. Hit the bell. Make sure you get notified when we have new content. The like button. We definitely appreciate the thumbs up. And there is an Amazon affiliates link down below and a Patreon link down below. The Amazon affiliates link, you can pop in there, and if anything you want to buy on Amazon, doesn't cost you anything extra, but it does help support the Padawans, as well as the Patreon link. If you are so inclined and able to, we would greatly appreciate you supporting the Padawans using that Patreon link. So I don't want to spend too much time on all that stuff, so let's get this show on the road. So, Robb, good to see you. Good to see you. It's been a while, and I apologize for that because
No
I was
worries.
I was in your class in about May, I guess, May and June, and then life got busy, and Jerica stuck it out. But
Yeah.
I promise I'm coming back. I've started having the kids work on CW in school, and that's kind of my leverage for myself
Sure.
to get back in the groove. So, but why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself? You're an atypical ham as far as how you got licensed and everything. And
I am. Yeah, tomorrow will be 1 year since I got my license. So it was October 8th last year, and I actually had, I was doing some kind of life preparedness, kind of getting prepared and doing some prepping and things like that. And I realized I didn't know anything about comms. And so I started searching around the internet, and I found um, ham radio crash course and watched some of Josh's videos, and he had done one on emergency communications and things along those lines. And I was looking through his YouTube page, and I found his interview with Long Island CW Club, and I was fascinated by the idea of Morse code. I didn't know anything really about ham radio at all. September last year, kind of knew it was a amateur radio, but didn't know much about it at all. And Josh's station helped me get ready for my license exam, so I took my license exam and took both the tech and general. But before that, I started with the Long Island CW Club and started learning Morse code. And so 2 days before I took my license exam was the day I started with Long Island CW Club, and the rest has been history. I learned the characters and kind of took off from there. And I do about 90% of my time on air is CW, probably even higher than that. Then a little bit of local nets and things along those lines.
so, that's a little backwards compared to a lot of folks as far as getting into CW. Back in the old days, I actually had to have CW to get my general, but nowadays it seems most people get licensed first, and then they're like, hey, I'm going to try this Morse code thing. And what made you want to just start off with CW right away?
Well, it was interesting when I saw that interview with Howard. Two things really struck me. One, the club's out of Long Island, although it's an international club. It's physically located in Long Island, and we do all of our classes online, so it doesn't on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where you live. You can be a part of the club. But he was that Long Island accent was like home to me. So I grew up in the metro area. I grew up in Westchester County, New York, and so that accent, I was like, oh, that just feels like a warm cup of coffee to me. And then the second piece was the nostalgia of it. My grandfather was a radio operator in World War II. Didn't know much about it. He didn't share a whole lot about it, but I knew that he did Morse code while he was in the army, and always fascinated by that. And then so this really kind of piqued my interest on the radio side, and so I jumped into CW even before I got my license.
All right. Got a few people already asking questions, so if it's cool with you, we'll just kind of stop as they come in and
Sure.
hit them. And Don Gibbs, KK4QAM, he's not actually asking a question, he's making more of a statement, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it now. He said he needs to go ahead and get over to LICW himself and start over. And I'm just going to say, like I said, I've been on there. The Zoom classes and stuff are great. It does cost, it's not much, I don't remember what it is exactly, but it does have a nominal cost to it, but it is very much worth that little bit of investment. The classes are structured really well. Um, you go from a beginner, if I remember correctly, it's been a hot minute, like the beginner, which is like the first chunk of the alphabet, and the
Yeah.
beginner 2, and then it starts stepping up. So,
Yeah, yeah. So Long Island CW Club, you can find out information longislandcwclub.org. I'm an instructor there in the adult classes as well as I run the kids program. But basically what we do is we ask for a $30 donation per year just to keep the club running, and or you can do $90 lifetime membership, which is the deal of the century. And what we do is we let you come in and you go to any class you want. We run about 45 classes a week, plus things on the weekend. Around Morse code and different things, presentations and forums and things like that. But if you've never done anything with CW before and you wanted to join, you would join into our Beginners 1 class where we learn the first 20 characters. Once you learn the first 20 characters, you move into B2. B2 teaches you the second 20 characters because there's 40 characters in Morse code, 26 letters, 10 numbers, and 4 pieces of punctuation. We also learn the pro signs and all those other things that we do in CW. And then there's an intermediate classes, and then there's high speed classes, and you can work on learning how to head copy. You can we do have a POTA Soda forum that we run every Saturday, talking about using CW and POTA and Soda. We actually had the GOAT actually come on Saturday, and he did an hour-long presentation on his journey into the air, he calls it. So we had Piero Bigali come in and talk about his straight keys, and so we try to get a lot of things going on for club members once they have the 40 characters, and then after learning the 40 characters, you start to work on speed, and so there's plenty of no matter what level you are learning your CW. Maybe you learned your characters a long time ago, and now you need a refresher course. There's something for you. And we help you find the right classes. But you can go to any class you want. You can go to an advanced class even as a beginner and just listen and see what they're doing in there. Really, at any time of the day, you could find a class.
Okay, and where was it? Somebody asked, do they have different courses for adults and kids?
Yeah, we run the kids program separate from the adult program. It's free for kids. We don't charge anything for kids who want to learn CW. We run about a 6 to 7 week run with kids at any given time. We're entering. We're going to be starting our 7th round of classes for kids starting the end of October or beginning of November. Date to be determined soon. We're just finishing up with the 6th round of kids. We've had about 180 kids come through the program so far. They'll either that have learned Morse code. We have a bunch of kids that have graduated into the intermediate classes where we're working on some speed improvement and closing down the gap between the letters. And then we have about 20 or so in our advanced class, which is really working on how do we do contesting, how do we use it for POTA, and really getting out there so more 15 to 20 words a minute kind of range for kids to be able to participate in some of that. And a lot of the kids that come to come to CW, especially if they've had a tech license already, they want to do it for 2 reasons. They want to be involved with contests that they hear on the air, but they also want to be able to do the DX because CW gets out there a lot further than SSB will. And we have one young girl from Ohio. She's 13 or 14 years old, and she's already made like 90 contacts CW DX. So it's possible for kids. It's possible, and we've had kids everywhere from 5 years old all the way up to seniors in high school learn the code and be able to send the code. It's pretty incredible actually to see a 5-year-old who's still learning to sight read that can send and receive perfect code, but can't read what he's writing down or his parent is writing down as they go. So he'll say C, O, D, E, and he doesn't know how to read the word, but his parent will tell him what the word is, and then he say code is the answer, and that's it. It's pretty incredible.
That is kind of cool. I'll go ahead and throw this in there. Like I said earlier, my daughter went through a couple rounds of the class, and for parents and whatnot that are out there, I can go ahead and tell you it is completely safe. You're not going to have. There are no Zoom bombers of folks showing up in the kids' classes. It's managed extremely well, and my daughter made some great friends in there.
Yeah.
It's a great way for kids who have like interests to kind of network. And Steve, temporary offline's daughter Leah, um, Jerica, her, I don't know her. I don't remember her real name. I call her Moana, Alana, and
Yeah.
there are a couple other girls, and they have all become just great tight knit friends through
Yeah.
there also. So it's not just get in there and learn the code. They have fun doing it, and they make friends doing it. So that's kind of my 2.5 cents for there. Somebody did ask, what do you need to join the class equipment wise? What do they need to have?
Yeah, so basically, if you can, you actually have to have Zoom, right? So you have to be able to get into the Zoom classroom. So there's a requirement for that. But if they can, we use a couple of programs for them to practice listening. We have one that's computer based called G4FON. And then we have another one that's app based for iPhones called, we use Morse Machine. And basically, what we want kids to do with those two programs is to be able to hear a sound and know what the letter is. Learning CW is all about hearing and knowing, not seeing. Right? It's not a visual exercise. It's a hearing exercise. And so we want people to have instant recognition of characters. When they hear a K, they know it's a K, and when they hear an M, they know it's an M. Right? So those two things are important for practice, and some way to send. Now that can be using their parents' rig and the side tone on their rig. It could be using one of those oscillators that are built in straight key, or there are a couple of apps out there and a one computer program out there that you can use your space bar as a key, or the app for a key. And so we want to keep it at a low threshold for kids getting involved, especially if their parents aren't involved with ham radio. We want them to be able to just be able to get into class and be able to send some way, because we, in every single class, we send Morse code from the first class where they learn K, M, R, and S, the first four letters, to the last class where we're sending full sentences and address, numbers and age and all those kinds of things. We want you to be able to send. So I really believe in hear a letter, say a letter, send a letter. That's the best way to kind of drive it home when you're learning Morse code.
I'm going to say Jerica just popped in, said hi. I know she can't stay long because she's covered up with AP class homework, but
how's it going, Jerica? Good to see you.
She popped in, said howdy. Now go ahead and give it to her. Tell her she needs to hop in the next round of classes.
Well, she needs to bring her key when the next Poto adventure. She needs to bring a straight key with her and get out there.
We actually just had, and you and I talked a little bit about that before, a Poto adventure where I went out, and the plan was I was going to show a lot of the club members, i.e. adults, how to do Parks on the Air, and the kids kind of took that over. The Padawans showed up, and we couldn't get the Padawans off the radio. We got a couple adults a couple minutes, but after that it was all kiddos. So, but you're right. Jerica would have been the only kiddo there that knew CW, but she spent, goodness gracious, we went until after dark. She spent until after dark with a little 9-year-old sitting next to her, and she taught her how to work a pile up.
That's so cool.
It was awesome. But
it's amazing when you put the equipment in kids' hands; they take to it like water. It's really an amazing phenomenon, and then they get the interest levels there, and then there's the next steps that you can take with them. So, and that's really the philosophy that we had. The reason why we started the kids program was because, I woke up one morning and said, we have all these kids that are locked at home. Like, they've all been sent home. Nobody's going to school. Nobody's in Massachusetts. We weren't sure whether there was going to be school in March or April. I'm like, what are parents doing, first of all, to keep their kids sane? And second, this is a great opportunity for kids when they don't have a whole lot else to do because they can't go anywhere, to learn a skill and to learn a language, right? Because CW is a language. And so I put it out there to our club members, and I expected really, 10 or 15 people to come along and say, yeah, I'd be interested in doing that. My grandson would like to do that, whatever. In our first round, we had 74 kids sign up. And yeah, it was. I planned on doing one class like 3 times a week, and we were doing 2 classes a day for 5 days a week. It was incredible. And we had everything from everyone from 5-year-old to a senior in high school in that first round. I think Jerica was in the second round of classes. But it was great to see, and I was shocked at how excited and how engaged the kids stayed with it, because it's rote, right? Here's a K, learn a K. Here's an M, learn an M, right? But they love it, and part of it's because it's like a secret code. Part of it's because I can talk to my grandfather in Florida because he does CW. A lot of different reasons why kids wanted to get involved. But what we found is, like with the adults, is the same thing. The more the kids practice, the faster it came along. And you talk about your daughter and Alana and Leah. Well, they used to get in a Zoom room after class and practice together, right? So they were practicing even more than we were doing our classes, and that's what it requires. What you learn in class, you then have to go practice, and that's we have a good percentage of kids that are willing to invest that time because it's important to them.
Oh yeah, they had fun. I mean, they would spend hours in there just sending code to each other. So, and then she'd of course come in here and say, "Hey, bet you can't copy this."
Yeah, exactly.
Hang my head in shame.
Yeah, and we've had quite a few parents sign up for CW adult classes as a result of their kids taking it. So that's been a really cool thing too. So then in the spring, where are we now? What is this? So I guess in the summer we decided that kids kept saying, "Well, how do I get my license? How do I get my license?" So we hooked up with a group that gave an online Zoom license class. We had 23 kids get their right as of yesterday. 23 kids got their tech licenses, and about 9 or 10 of them have upgraded. So awesome. Just really great to see. And I got my first QSL card from one of my students, and that was an awesome thing to get. So we connected on 40 meters CW exchange, and I sent her a card, and she sent one back to me. And it's amazing. About 70% of the kids that take CW are girls.
Really?
Yeah. It's been a pretty cool phenomenon that I've noticed. Yeah. So my advanced class is 17 girls and 3 boys.
Let's see, Clark, real quick. Clark's asking, is most of this info you're giving on the website? He basically, I think he's wanting to find out if he needs to take notes or if after he listens to it, he can go find it.
If you go to the website, Long Island CW, well, are you talking about the adults or for the kids? So the
I
kids,
imagine for the adults.
For the adults, you just go to longislandcwclub.org, click on the membership page, and everything you need to know to join up and connect with Howard, who founded the club with Rich. Howard's WB2UZE and Rich K2UPS. They founded the club about almost 3 years ago now, I guess. And Howard's the one that kind of manages membership and all that. So he'll get you all hooked up, no problem. If you're interested in the kids program, we also have a kids tab on there. But your best bet is just to email me directly, k2mz@yahoo.com. And I'll get you all the information and that you need to get signed up.
And I'll put his email address down in the description afterwards. So,
but we do run a really tight ship on my classes as far as security. We run a waiting room. I lock the class at a certain time so nobody can come in. We don't want anything. We don't want parents to feel like that's going on. And we ask that parents are in earshot of kids for 2 reasons. One, just to make sure that they have what they need support-wise, but secondly, if there's any technical issues on their end, and every once in a while we run into that. We're sending CW over Zoom, and the sound can get all funky and all that if we don't have some help from adults on the other side. So
yeah, and I will go ahead and say that I'm comfortable enough with the safety and security of it that I told the Padawans at school about it. Obviously, I can't officially say, "Hey, let's go Zoom," but I told them so they could go home and. Hopefully a few of them are like, "Hey, I want to do this. It's free. Can I do it?" And
yeah, absolutely. And I've worked with young people for 30 years. I was a youth pastor for 8 years. I've been working with kids in different situations in my professional life. I've run programs for kids for 30 years. So I enjoy being with them, which not all adults can say that, especially the middle school and high school age kids. Sometimes people get frustrated with that. I think they're the most wonderful people in the world. So I enjoy being in the classroom with the kids, and it's been incredible to watch them progress.
Well, I'm kind of there with you. I'm a middle school teacher, so
yeah,
most people think I'm crazy.
That's God's work, man. That's God's work. I'm telling you that I learned more from middle school students in my life than I've from any adult.
So Randon, I'm gonna Lev. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Is saying he made his daughter take the class over the summer, and she was reluctant at first, but she ended up enjoying it. So, and that's kind of part of my point is a lot of times, kids they don't know what they're gonna enjoy until they get in there and start sending it. And it's kind of my kudos to you is I don't know if any other people are teaching the kids class. As far as I know, it's just all you.
Yeah, it's pretty
But
much me.
um, if I had a hat on, hats off to you because you do an amazing job with that. So
Thank you.
you
Thank
know,
you. I enjoy it as much as the kids do. Yeah, Randon, your daughter did a phenomenal job, and she just emailed me actually a couple of days ago and said she's going to join the next round again. And I believe your nephew joined as well in the second round that she was in. So that's awesome. That's awesome.
let's see if we got any other questions in here. People talking about they had CW a long time ago and it's kind of fallen away. And I was that person when I started back in the. It comes back amazingly quick. I mean,
It does. It does. It's something that because it's rooted in your brain, right? It's rooted in your neural pathways, and it is a perishable skill as far as if you don't practice, you're not going to have it right at that moment. But if you start practicing again, it comes back pretty quickly. A lot like riding a bike, I guess.
I was surprised because it had been 20 something years since, and I had CW at 5 words a minute, and I was that dude that barely passed the test because I got a minute of solid copy kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I learned it driving to and from the University of North Texas on an audio cassette, just playing over and over again.
Yeah.
Not nearly as good as it is now, where you can have interaction and practice afterwards. So
Well, I was lucky that I fell into the Long Island CW Club. I met a couple of instructors early on that challenged me to learn my 40 characters as fast as I could. And then I had some time that I had to use from work, so I took a 2 week period off after I learned 40 characters, and I just worked on getting on the air and made about 150 contacts in that 2 weeks, and I was just hooked. So then I wanted to increase speed and all those kinds of things. So I went through CW Ops too. I went through. I graduated their advanced class, and there's two very different programs. I love them both. They're both incredibly useful for people learning CW. CW Ops is really designed to move towards high-speed contesting using your keyboard and doing 25 to 40 words a minute. We teach to the QSO. We want people to get on air and make QSOs. We want people to get on air and have contacts using CW and whatever speed that you're comfortable with, whether that's 12 words a minute or that's 25 words a minute. We want you to use it as a part of the hobby. And what's beautiful is that ham radio, there's room for all of it. There's the high-speed contesting, there's digital, there's CW at a comfort level of 12 to 15. Right, there's all kinds of things out there, and that's the beauty about ham radio. And that's the one thing I can say after being a ham for 1 year. I've never met more incredible people in my life doing anything than the people I've met in ham radio. And it's just a really unique hobby, and it's brought incredible joy to my life. And I'm just so thankful that I found it. I wish I had found it 20 years ago, like you.
So, real quick, you said you spent that year. What? Kind of off topic a little bit. Tell us what do you have for your station? Do you operate mostly at home? Do you head out to the park?
Yeah, I kind of did it all. I tried to learn it all this year. So when I first got involved with ham radio and I got my license, there was a member in the Long Island CW Club that was selling an FT 950. So I was able to get that at a really good price, and I got that. And then I got the 7300 after that. And then I got the KX2 because I wanted to go to the park. And so I've been doing quite a bit of POTA this summer. I just started doing that this summer. I think I've done 12 or 13 parks so far, and doing it all CW. And I really love that. That's been incredible. I love being outside, so that's just a huge thing. And so, I'm finding ways just to be comfortable. Now I'm getting into a little bit of emergency communications and things like that, working some areas and things like that. So, I'm trying to find all the ways that I can implement not only CW but also my passions and personal passions. Like I want to be able to help people, so that's why I'm interested in Aries and stuff like that. And I love being outside, so POTA makes sense for me. I've done a couple of sodas as well. So those are and to be honest with you, I don't do a whole lot other than radio with my free time anymore because I love it so much. And I'm involved with a couple other organizations, but other than that, I have a great local club, and I have the Long Island CW club, and I can't ask for more than that. And I've been really fortunate with Elmers, right? I have a great Elmer here in my hometown from my local radio club, who helped me get my station set up and hang my antenna and all those kinds of things. And then I had a great set of Elmers at the Long Island CW club learning CW. So, and that's what I love most about it is the people. They're just amazing.
That's one thing I do remember, even from. I have a few CW contacts from when I first got my general, and folks, they'll slow down for you no matter how fast they're sending. Yeah. They figure out pretty quick. Okay, slow it down, and so don't worry about it. It's actually a little easier, I think, than mic fright because you're not actually talking into it. So
yeah. I think the difference in the fear factor, because the fear factor is real with CW as well. I mean, I had my first QSO by accident. Mine was a complete accident. I would come down every morning before I went to work, and I would practice going through the CW protocol sending. Well, the night before, I had made a contact. I had made some contacts using SSB. Was listening to a little bit of CW, and I never turned my break-in off. And I started sending CQ as part of my practice, and somebody came back to me. And I was like, oh no, what do I do? Here's like the moment where I said, I either gonna call back to the CQ, or I'm just gonna walk away from the hobby.
Pretend like I didn't hear you. Turn it off.
Yeah. Just turn the knob, right? But so I struggled through it, man. It was awful. I was slow. I made mistakes. I had to correct things, right? And I'm kind of a perfectionist, and I think a lot of people that do CW tend to be a little bit of perfectionists. And I wanted to get it all right, and I didn't. It was horrible, right? And finally, I said 73, and we were done. And then I had to go take a shower because I was sweating through my clothes because I was so nervous. And then I come down, and I'm looking at my email, and the guy that I just had a contact had sent me an email and said, "Hey, great job, Rob. Do you know anything about SKCC? Hey, give me a call." And I'm like, where else in the world does that happen, right? Where somebody, you meet somebody on air and they send you an email, then you're talking to them on the phone, and he really showed me, like, here's how you get on air, here's how you use the protocol here, and so it was just a really cool experience. And then after that, I was just hooked and I was on the air all the time. But that first one is really nerve-wracking, and I think the biggest hurdle for most people is not their ability to send, it's their ability to copy. What if I miss something? What if they ask me a question and I don't know what they asked? And the beautiful thing is that all you have to do is send a question mark back, and they send the info again, right?
Okay, so I have several of the Padawans working on this, and obviously I teach a computer science / STEM kind of class with them, and so they're constantly thinking, technology. What can I? And one of them asked a question, maybe it was yesterday, I don't remember. Why shouldn't I just use one of those little decoders instead? So, from somebody who teaches the class, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it depends on how you want to use CW, right? Like a purist, a CW, and there's CW purists out there. They say if you're not sending with a straight key and you're not head copying, you're not really doing CW. I don't fall into that. Like, I don't get into that conversation. Ham radio is a hobby, and you should be having fun. So whatever makes it fun for you, do that. A lot of the times if you like tonight, was today Wednesday? Yeah. So tonight at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 10 o'clock Central, if you go on 40 meters between 7.030 and 750, you're going to hear all these guys sending between 25 and 50 words a minute, right? Now, 75% of those guys are not doing that with a key in their hand and head copying what's coming back to them. They're using their F keys on their keyboard, and they have a decoder that's reading what's being sent, right? That's one way to do CW. It's different. I've done that. I've participated in the CWT, which happens every Wednesday night. and have had enjoyed them for a period, but that's just not for me long term. That's not how I want to spend my time. So you decide how you want to use CW, but I would challenge you to learn the code so that you can decode before you go start using a decoder, because there's a lot more joy and enjoyability in actually being able to turn on a radio, listen to what's being sent, and hear it, and be able to say, I know what they're saying. And even if that's only 15 words, 12, 10 words a minute, that's cool, right? But you know it, and that's a great thing. And I guarantee you there's probably kids in your class who have grandparents or an uncle or somebody who's a ham radio that they could have a conversation with in CW. There's 2 kids in my class right now who have an uncle who is in Afghanistan serving with the U.S. military, and they're using WhatsApp, and they're sending messages back and forth in CW on WhatsApp. And so he sends a message from Afghanistan to them. They decode it, and then they send it back another. It's like, that's a cool thing.
That is
But
cool.
so like however you want to use CW, I think just learn it, and then if you want to use a decoder down the road, use a decoder. But I personally like the challenge of trying to dig out what are they sending and trying to figure out what that, what was that call sign? Okay, I got it now. That's just me, right? So depending on how you want to use it. But there's nothing wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But if you're learning, when you're learning CW, if you're relying on a decoder, you're never going to learn it. Why? Because it's not a visual language. It's an auditory language. When I hear this, I have to immediately in my brain say K. Right? That's the sound of a K. So if I don't hear that, if I hear that and I have to either look at a sheet where the dits and das are written down, or if I have to look at a decoder, then I'm never really learning that letter. And that's the challenge I always get to the kids. Learn how to decode it, and then whatever you want to do down the road, that's your hobby. You can do whatever you want, and there's room on the bands for all of it.
So yeah, that's one of the things. You were in Josh's stream. I was in his stream the other day, and several people made donations and whatnot for the Padawans, and they're actually getting a bunch of Pixie-style little radio kits. So we're going to build dummy loads for them. So basically, instead of, and they're using LCWO.net right now because, it's a school, it's free, and it's working okay. But once we build these kits, and they're going to have that dummy load on there, and it won't get out very far, but sitting across the classroom, it'll make that. And so they're going to get used to sending that. Of course, I'm kind of waiting for
the sending is a huge part of it, especially with a straight key. And that's why I always encourage my beginners to use a straight key, because you're actually using another pathway in your body to learn CW, right? So when I use a straight key, I actually have to go da, did, da, right, with my hand to form the letter. And so now there's a kinetic learning that's happening as well. Not only am I hearing, right? That's why I say hear a letter, say a letter, send a letter when you're learning, because those are 3 different neural pathways that you can then start to really embed the code in your body and in your head. And there's more even beyond that. There's people in our club that can feel CW like in their chest, like that they did it, right? So there's these are guys that are operating up at 25, 30 words a minute.
So you've kind of sort of, I think, answered it. Are you just a straight key kind of guy? Do you use paddles at all? Somebody asked what kind of key you use.
So I'm in the midst of using every kind of key. I'm trying to learn every key possible. So I learned actually, when I bought this rig from the club member, he sent along a set of paddles with it, and I started learning CW on paddles. And then I ordered a straight key, and then I found, wow, that's when it really took root for me. Is really when it started to make sense, CW, and especially on the copy side by sending on a straight key. But I have a straight key, I have a paddle, I have a bug, and I have a cootie, and I love them all.
A cootie, you're gonna have to explain a cootie.
So a cootie, how paddles, if you hit the right paddle, it's the das, and they'll just go da 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 da, right? Okay. If you hit the left side, it's dit 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 dit, whatever speed you're setting it. On a cootie, you have to do like you do on a straight key, but it's on both sides, and you never go in the same direction twice. So you're going back and forth, da dit da, dit dit da da da.
So you actually have to hold it for the right amount of time.
You have to hold it for the right amount of time, and so it's a fully manual key, but it's different than a straight key, and it's different than a bug. Bug is semi-automatic, right? Because the dits are automatic, the DAWs are you have to form. So there's like those are all the different kinds of keys that are out there. I love my straight key. I'm involved with Straight Key Century Club, and I love those guys. It's been a blast working with them. But I also like getting up there and just hanging out at 24 words a minute and having a QSO with somebody on my paddle. I have a single lever paddle that I use that converts into a cootie. So um, I like it. I like all different formats. For the longest time, I couldn't copy a bug, but now I'm getting much better, and I'm actually pretty good on my bug now.
So yeah,
So
that's what I've got a little MFJ practice straight key in the classroom.
yeah, the little
got the little
black one.
speaker in there, yeah,
Yeah, it's a great one.
and the kids like that thing. So that's trying to scroll back and see if I missed any questions here. I will say while I'm scanning through this, I did not realize Long Island CW is only 3 years old. With
Yeah, it's only about 3 years. I don't know even if we've had our third year anniversary yet, and we're approaching 1,000 members.
so that's for 3 years. And you've got all 50 states if I remember correctly.
All 50 states, and I don't know. I can't remember how many countries. I know last time I remember is 19, but I think it's more than that now.
Let's see what we got.
And even the kids club is. I think we've got 39 states in 4 countries at this point. So
39 states with kids. So you're gonna have to put out there which states you don't have, and
yeah,
we'll try to push you a kid out of each one of there because
I like it. I like it.
as I'm sure you figured out, I'm focused on the Padawans, the
Yeah,
kiddos, and then after my stream tonight, Sterling, who just I always forget the new title. He's the IARU
chief of all
youth
youth.
liaison, whatever I don't know, whatever that title is, but he streams right after me, and so he and I were kind of joking a little bit earlier about how Wednesday's turning into Youth on the Air night on
Yeah, I
ham
like
radio.
it.
So
I like it. Maybe I'll have to get a youth CW stream to go after Sterling.
there you go. So somebody did ask earlier, as far as timing, you do have classes. I remember I was up way past my bedtime for some of those classes. So you have classes plenty late for people over on the Pacific Coast and whatnot.
Yeah, we have a whole group of classes at 10 p.m. Eastern, which is 7 p.m. West Coast time. We have a couple of early morning ones for people that are in the UK. Yeah, so we try to cater if we have a group of people that are in a certain area, we try to cater a class to that time zone. But yeah, we try to we're pretty much we have 2 Zoom rooms, pretty much full time use from 4 o'clock till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. So on East Coast time.
So kids classes at night now too, or do you have any?
So we when we were running them this summer, we were doing like our noon to 2. Now when school started up for some of the kids, now we're doing a set at noonish, and then a set at 4 and a set at 7.
Okay.
So there's definitely a place for kids to kind of connect there.
Talking Eastern time.
Eastern, sorry,
Okay.
yeah, I do everything.
So okay, I'll make sure I point that out to the Padawans. And yeah, Sterling's in the house. So Sterling, that's our challenge. We need to get the list of states that Long Island CW does not have kids in, and
Yeah,
we need to get them there. So maybe between the two of us, we can go there.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
are you assigned to a specific class, or can you catch them as you can? Don Gibbs
We do
asks.
not we do not do the cohort model, so you can come to any class, no matter what level it is, at any time that you're free. So again, we run about 45 classes a week. You can go to any of them. Every single day, there's some kind of class going on. And you can go to a different instructor each time. I think we have 16 or 17 different instructors now, and see which one's a good fit for you. But yeah, you can find one in your time zone or your free time. Uh, Definitely.
So a lot of people, they learned the code a while ago and they think they've got it at a certain speed, and not so much. Is if they pop into one of your higher speed classes, can they just pop in there and just kind of sit back and listen, or are you going to put them on?
Yeah,
Are you going to put them on the spot and make them send if they're just
never,
trying to see if
never.
they got it?
It is such a low key environment. I mean, we really want people to have fun. We really stress that this is a hobby. Nobody's sending missile coordinates. Nobody's getting paid to send CW. So don't stress out. Just enjoy it. You should learn it at your own pace. If you want to learn all 40 characters in a month, then do that. If you want to wait, if you want to do it over 3 months, do it over 3 months. But if you, let's say you're beginning and you want to see what it's like in an advanced class, you can just go in there, throw audit up on your name, and the instructor will welcome you, and then they'll leave you alone.
Okay, so when they go in, just put audit on their.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there you go. Nobody specifically asked that, but I know for me, especially when I slide back in, I want to slide back into beginner 2 and see how much of it I actually remember from beginner
Yeah,
1,
absolutely.
kind of thing. And I know if I'm thinking the question, somebody else may be thinking it too. So
Yeah, absolutely. You can go to any class you want and just kind of observe and see what it's like. And once you have all 40 characters and you want to know where your speed is, we have actually kind of a testing class where people can go in there and they can copy and send at a certain speed, and then the instructor says you're at about 12 words a minute. So we have, we want people to enjoy their time in the CW club.
So one of the things Jerica was excited about after she learned all of her letters and whatnot, she actually played a little bit of catch up. She came in after the class had already started.
Yeah, she
And
was like 10 characters. I think she had to catch up.
and so she got those down. Of course, being my child unit, she made sure to rub it in my face and whatnot. But the thing she was most excited about was what you started teaching after they learned all 40 characters, and that was how to actually make a contact. And
Yeah, we teach a CW protocol. It's a 3-stage protocol. And it's pretty universal. I mean, sometimes the order depends on the operator, but we teach one specific order of our QSO protocol. And that always starts with kind of us calling CQ, right? So CQ, CQ, DE, your call sign. Somebody comes back with their call sign, your call sign from their call sign, just like you would on SSB, right? And then now you're in a QSO. The first person does some kind of salutation, good morning, thanks for the call. And then they'll send an RST report, which is 3 numbers in CW. So let's say it's 599, 5NN, N is short for 9. Then the next thing they would send is their QTH. QTH here is Massachusetts, or I might do Worcester, Massachusetts. And then name is Robb. How copy? AR, BK. BK is throwing it back to the other person. The other person then comes back, gives the same info. That's the first part of the protocol. That's what you need for a legit contact in CW. That's considered in the books. The second stage, you could decide to share some more information. It could be rig, power, antenna, weather. That would be the second stage of the protocol. First person sends it, second person comes back with it. Then you could decide to rag chew if you want. Age here, bit of ham for my key is, and then send it back, same thing, comes back, and then there's a goodbye, 73s and call sign exchange, and then that's it, right? So that's the protocol. Now you could have a much longer rag chew in between 2 and 3 if you decided to, but that's the basic protocol. And once you have all 40 characters, practicing that protocol gets you comfortable to get on air, because you're going to know that's basically every single person that makes a contact on air is doing that first part of the protocol. Greeting, RST, QTH, and name. And that's universal. Whether it's somebody from France or whether it's somebody from your next town, that's going to be the protocol once you get on air with CW.
So one of the things that I know for me that made me nervous when I first, there's almost a certain etiquette to CW, and there's some things that I guess if you're just learning the letters and symbols and whatnot, some of those things that people throw at the end, like PSE, K, and
yeah, there's a lot of abbreviations, and we try to teach as many of those in that same level class where we're teaching the protocol, that intermediate level. We try to teach, like AGN means again, right? Like TU or TNX is thanks, TKS is thanks. There's 3 ways to say thanks. AR means get ready, I'm sending it back to you. BK means back to you. BTU means back to you, right? So there's all these kinds of things. If you want to pause between thoughts, you send BT. Those are all called pro signs. or abbreviations, and we try to teach as many of those. And then there's also the Q signs, right? So there's, which are the same in SSB too. But you might say I'm. My favorite one is always my XYL is calling much QRT now, right? So like that's a way to get out of the QSO if it's going too long for you. So you'll see a lot of that. Most of the time, if an operator's new and we know that by speed, we don't use abbreviations as much, right? So instead of, I send in almost every goodbye, 73, CUAGN, see you again, BEST, best, because I like the way it sounds, AR, call sign exchange, almost every single time I say goodbye. If I know the other person's a new operator, I'm not doing CUAGN. I'm saying nice, NICETOMEETYOU, so I'm spelling it all out, so the person, because they're not going to maybe know yet the shortcuts and things along those lines. And that's part of the etiquette, and that's part of the responsibility of being a more advanced operator on air than a new operator on air. And that's why you'll hear, and this is why I encourage people, especially as soon as you get all 40 characters, get out there, throw a CQ out there, even if you're at 5 words a minute, because somebody's going to come along and slow down for you, and they're going to want to, and they'll do it right at your speed. And that's the beautiful thing about CW operators is a lot of them will just, most of them will just slow right down.
So my suspicion is, and you've been obviously teaching kids in the class, my suspicion is kids are probably going to adjust to the pro signs more quickly because they text that way.
Yeah, well, I try to stump them with some of them, and they know what they are right away. So, no matter what it is, PSE being please, right?
So yeah, they're they can text in code that I have to Google. So
yeah, me too. I agree. I think they pick it up so much faster, and they pick up the code much faster. I teach my adults probably 2 or 3 letters a class. I teach minimum 4 to the kids, and in a shorter span of time too, right? So where I'm doing once a week with my adult classes, I'm doing 3 times a week with my kids' classes. So there's a lot of less time in between. I'm teaching, basically 10 sessions. I teach them 40 letters.
Yeah, I remember I was in here trying to learn it, and she would come in and stand right here to the side of me, and she's like, "Oh, you're just on that letter," kind of thing. So she was definitely moving along a bit faster than I was. So we can check and see if we got any other questions in that. If y'all have any questions, drop them in there. We've got about 10 or 12 minutes left, and then we're going to head over to Sterling's house after for his. Oh, Tango Oscar Mike 73 made his first CW contacts last week. Good for you.
Outstanding, excellent job. I love to hear that.
Throw in there. I'm curious as to where your contacts were, because like he said, CW has the possibility of going much farther than the SSB does. So
absolutely, yeah. I've got 119 countries already.
So Clark says he needs slow. I'm assuming he's talking about for his CW, and he's it's kind of like Rob said, slow. There are plenty of people out there that'll slow down for you. That's one thing I've learned, and Rob has pointed out that people in the ham community are they're cool like that. They'll figure out that you're new, and they'll slow down. They'll send you that email after a contact. Shoot, I had 2 boxes show up on my porch this week of just random radios and antennas that I didn't know were coming for the Padawans. It's just like, here, a couple radios, couple this, couple. There was no note in one of them. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I put out my first or second round. Actually, I think I sent Jericho one of them too. That I had kids that needed their own key. And I had people. I had 75 keys in a week and a half sent to my house that I could then send out to kids who didn't have them.
Yeah, she wanted the straight key from Rob. So
yep. I think I remember sending her a nice one too.
You did. She didn't want the Daddy's MFJ, which is a nice paddle, by the way. It's a nice
it's paddle, not too bad. Not bad.
She wanted her own from Rob. Yeah. So. It just shows.
Well, it's an incredible group of kids, and I'm just always thrilled to hear about their they like to report back at the beginning of class. I made 2 contacts this week. I made 10 contacts this week. So that's the joy that I get out of it. Is I know these kids are now on the air, and some of them didn't even have a license when they started taking CW. So it's a cool thing.
So we know that a lot of the kids, Jerica, Leah, Alana, and them are making friendships and stuff on Zoom. How many kids do you have that are actually successfully contacting each other on the air?
Each other, I'm not sure. I know a lot of them do practice in Zoom outside of class, but I don't know how many of them may actually have the ability to contact each other on air. We probably have a couple of dozen that have made contacts on air out of the 100 and whatever taking classes. But a lot of them took the class and their parents aren't hams.
Yeah.
So they don't have anybody to help them think about what kind of radio do I get, what kind of antenna do I get, what kind of power supply. And a kid walking into an adult radio club sometimes is a little awkward for the kid or the club sometimes as well, to be honest. Trying to get those kids. We actually had a member of the Long Island CW Club who lives in Florida, found out that he lived like 3 blocks away from one of our kids, went over there and set him up with a whole ham station, HF station, and the kid's making contacts every week, and like he can't believe how awesome it is, right? And so, I think that's, again, like, the ham community is incredible, and I love it. I love doing what I'm doing.
They are, and like you said, a lot of kids don't have the ability, I guess, to make those contacts. But another advantage is I've never been a QRP guy, not because of any dislike for it. I just hadn't tried it yet. Closest I've gotten is Jerica's little G90 radio at the Parks on the Air stuff. But it doesn't take that much to get kids on the air. And part of, I guess we'll call it a dreamish kind of thing is, a lot of times these kids are they want to network with people that are like-minded. So ideally, I want them to be able to not just make contacts on the internet. The ultimate cool factor would be them having their own CW net or something.
Love that. Yeah.
So that may be something. You listen to Sterling, we got to get that rolling. Sterling focuses, I think, mostly on young college-ish aged folks, but they need mentors. So,
yeah.
but
Absolutely. Absolutely.
that's kind of one of those. You can get one of those little pixie-ish kind of kits and throw a wire up, and depending on where you are, you may be able to get those contacts. It's a little harder work than putting out 50 or 100 watts doing it, but it can be done.
We ran we ran a sprint for the club, the adult club, and we invited the kids to come in, and we had 2 or 3 or 4 kids come in and actually make contacts too. So, we're trying to get them involved in thinking that way. But I think a lot of them are really limited by what their family allows or has, or if their parent is a ham. We have several that their parents are hams and they've been on the air since they learned all 40 characters. So it really depends on the situation of the kid.
Okay. So, let me stroll through. Any last words you want to throw in there? Well, I'm going to stroll through and make sure we hadn't missed anybody's question. And guys, if you threw one in there that I missed, throw it in there again, because.
Yeah. So I think for closing thoughts, if you want to learn CW, I can't think of a better place to do it than Long Island CW Club. And if you have any kids, grandkids, nephews, whatever, send them our way. We'll love to teach them how to do CW. And if you both learn it together, how cool would that be to be able to then have a contact with your nephew, your grandson, or your kids? Something
cool.
to do with your kids.
Richard Finney said that after learning your 40 characters, POTA and SOTA chasing is a great way to get over that key fright. And
it is.
It's like you said, if the exchange is pretty much the same every time, you get into a comfort zone.
Yeah, that's a real simple one, right? So if you're chasing on a POTA, you're just basically you're sending RST and state, and then you're done, 73, and you're out. So that's a great way to get on the air and make a few contacts and then get over that fright.
All right, I think we're caught up. So I want to go ahead and thank you for being here again, guys. I'll put the link to Long Island CW Club down in the description below. Like you said, it's $30 a year, or for a year, or the deal of the century is $90 and you get it forever.
for the rest of your life.
And so,
Lifelong hobby.
and it is definitely, I've been through the classes. Jerica's been through the classes. To is in here. His daughter Leah's been through the classes. It's a great way to learn it, and get out there and get it done. And I'm gonna go ahead and throw this out there because everything for me goes through that filter of, for the kids, for these hams that are out there, consider, getting other kids. I mean, it doesn't take that much to help a kid get on the air with CW. It's not nearly as expensive as it has to be for, SSB and whatnot. So if you've got a kid in the neighborhood or a kid that's interested, put them on it and help them find an inexpensive way to get on the air, because it's a lifetime hobby that they're never gonna forget or regret. So, but thank you for being here, Rob. We do appreciate
My pleasure. Thanks so much, and thanks for all you do with your kids as well, and Sterling as well.
And Sterling, drop that link a bunch of times. We're about to head over to Sterling's house and see what he's got for us tonight on the youth front. And we got a few minutes, so we're good to go. So, Rob, I appreciate it, and I promise you'll see me back in class.